To Studio C70 at the Committee of 70. I am Pat Christmas, Policy Director here. In a couple weeks, polls are opening. Big election for folks here in Philadelphia, Tuesday, November 5th. I know the headlines out of DC are relentless, but local politics has always mattered immensely, as does local government. And voters have a ton of choices. Mayor, all of city council, judicial offices at the local and state level, ballot questions, row offices. There's really a great deal that voters will see on Tuesday, and it's really important folks get out there. As part of getting ready for Tuesday, November 5th, we have council candidates coming through the office. This afternoon, we've got Michael Bradley. Michael, how are you?
Good, Patrick.
Terrific. Michael will be on the ballot in the 2nd Councilmanic District that covers a huge swath of South and Southwest Philly. Why don't we start off with a big question, Michael, for you, since you're running for office, surely, because you've got some big ideas. What do you think the city's on the right track or the wrong track? Starting really pulling the lens back.
Well, I think it's on the right track for
Okay.
some. I think it's on the wrong track for others.
Yep.
I don't think any gains that we're having, it's not capturing everybody. The people that aren't seeing any improvement in the neighborhoods that aren't seeing any improvement, they're getting hit the hardest.
Yeah.
So it's a mixed bag.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I know that you're no stranger to the city of Philadelphia, our civic kind of life and political life. Could you talk a little bit about your experience and what would make you ready to do the work on day one if you were to win a seat?
To do the work,
Yeah.
well, a lot of the issues we have, they're not political.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of issues we have, they don't take a political mind in as far as background
Right.
and experience and education.
Mm-hmm.
You can take a tour around city council and see that maybe that background doesn't matter that much. So ready to do the work is just solving problems.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I got into the work that I'm into, because in the military, that's all it was
Yep.
solving problems. So
yeah, potholes come up a lot when it comes to,
well, a lot of things
what
are the
we're
little things. If you can't get our city government to take care of the little stuff,
Yeah.
how do you trust them to do like the big things, like the
Mhm.
problems with education and violence and everything else, if you can't get city agencies to do the right thing?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think my own personal experience with civics and between the military and project management,
Mm-hmm.
for construction, there's a lot of issues up there, and it doesn't have any bearing on political idealism.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, and I know you. I mean, you've been very active in your community, including like the Civic Association. I mean, can you talk a little bit about that work as well?
Yeah, that was very satisfying. It was just filling a need.
Mm-hmm.
There were information wasn't getting out. This was an easy one. Information wasn't getting out to the community through the organizations that had. So we started a little group together, and we digitized all the information that was circling around, and we started the Facebook site, and we still put flyers and stuff up, but we got a lot of people tuned in, and now we can get the information out instantaneously. So like zoning boards, community meetings, stuff that's going on, even the fun things like Friends of Lanier are doing a Halloween thing, and what it is now the different community groups send us the information because we have a greater reach between email and Facebook. So I love doing it because not only that stuff, but working with the different organizations. If they have something going on, we'll coordinate for them.
Yeah.
So and I was saying beforehand, we had a huge loss when we lost Kyle Shenandoah, but that's kind of what we did. If you were in a neighborhood, or if you were an organization, or even if you were just a neighbor and you wanted to get something done, we would connect you with the resources. And that was Kyle's big thing. We would connect people with the resources they needed to get things done. And it was hugely satisfying.
Yeah.
We'll get back to that as soon as this is over.
Sure. So, but let's say, I mean, you're going to have a really good November 5th. You're successful. You win a seat on city council. In your first 4 years, your first term, what would be a top legislative priority?
Getting rid of the soda tax.
Okay.
Scaling back the soda tax, fixing the property assessments, which are erroneous. So everybody's getting taxed at the wrong rate.
Yeah.
Which I love that they knew about, but they went ahead and taxed us on that rate anyway. Which is that's one of my favorite things to talk about when I'm out, because everybody is blown away at that fact. And I'm like, it's your city government. I mean, if you're not paying attention, this is what's going to happen. But other than that, I'd like to increase transparency up there. You know, it just feels like, and a lot of people believe with one sitting city council person under indictment, the other one under a federal investigation. There's room for corruption up there. And if your main concern is just being reelected, then you're part of the problem. So, no, I'd like to start looking at I don't think they're good fiduciary stewards up there with our tax dollars. I think all the money that they're constantly out of money, and they always come back to us and squeeze us for more. And if they're not squeezing us, they're squeezing the businesses, which just compounds every other problem we have in the city. So I'd really like to let, is it Rebecca Reinhardt?
Our controller?
Yeah, I'd like to find out what she needs and let her loose up there and find out more than just the 33 million that was missing because of accounting errors. And you know, just the little things like that have nothing to do with politics, just the administration managerial thing. I mean, forget about leadership, which we desperately need in the communities. Just the managerial stuff, overseeing city government in a way that you and I would like to get on with our daily lives and know that the person that we voted for was watching things up there the way we would want to take care of it, and let us know what was going on, instead of saying, well, I'm not going to say anything about that because I'm going to make the wrong people upset at me. And if I do that, I won't get reelected. And since my whole goal is staying reelected, I'm just going to keep my mouth shut.
Yeah. So our property tax assessments and the soda tax, I mean, are those things that you know, you hear a good bit about in South Philly? You know, for against. I mean, what have you heard on the trail while you're out there talking to folks?
Those are easy ones. Once I give people the background of the soda tax, not a lot of people like it anyway. But even the proponents of it, you know, you kind of talk about how everything's going to the general fund. How it's not exactly budgeted to go towards the universal pre-K. You know, and how I tell them that Councilman O found a way to fund the universal pre-K without the soda tax, and they still went ahead with the soda tax, which, you know, you add all this stuff up, it starts to feel like it wasn't really about universal pre-K or Parks and Recs, because even redoing the Parks and Recs, they're borrowing off of the projections of the soda tax. It's not the soda tax money that's coming out of it. So once you fill people in, that's kind of an easy one. And the property taxes, just everybody is very upset about.
And I think across Pennsylvania, there's property taxes have been a big issue for a long time.
I get that in my feed too. So, but no, I mean, if the assessments are wrong, you know they're wrong. Just don't tax us by the wrong assessments. Go back to whatever the previous one is. Scold the people that messed it up, and if you either hire new people or do another assessment. It seems painfully easy, but they decided not to.
And so what's something that, if you know, as a council member, that you would never vote for, something that you would oppose? I mean, you just mentioned the soda tax, right?
Sure.
So that could be an example. But you know, are there others you can think of where if there was a policy brought up in council that you would oppose it strongly?
Yeah, I would strongly oppose any tax until we're sure that we're running, you know, with some fiduciary sense, that there's some kind of responsibility up there with the tax dollars that they're already getting from us. So I wouldn't even listen to any of them until we were sure that you know, not only the departments, but the contracts we have and the programs that we use, that money is going to where it's supposed to be, for the use that it's supposed to be done, and nobody's dipping into it on the way down. So I guess taxes.
Okay. So and you mentioned at the outset, I mean, you should think the city's on the right track for some, but not for others. You know, what sort of you know, policies, what, you know, parts of your agenda, you know, are specifically for those folks in Philly that you think are, you know, the city's not on the right track for them?
Well, I mean, for the areas that are getting overdeveloped, you know, outside of the pressure of people feeling like they're getting pushed out, or their whole culture's changed with gentrification. Objectively, you know, life seems pretty good. We got dog parks and you know, beer gardens and things are lovely. But in areas where there's not that types of influx of capital and new flesh blood, those areas, Grace Ferry's kind of turning over now, but out in Southwest, it hasn't really hit yet. It just started in King Sessing, and they've been starved for resources for decades. I remember someone had brought up in the neighborhood, had brought up to Kyle, who in turn we were talking about the bike share. Why can't we have a bike share? Why don't we have bus stops with covers? Why don't we have these things that we see in other communities that are like maybe right across Grace Ferry Avenue or right across Washington Avenue? In some of that, but it's either you have a strong community organization and the squeaky wheel gets noticed, or it's about money. So if those neighborhoods that are getting developed, they get that influx of capital in there, they've got that to throw around. So it shouldn't matter to the representative of the district on the demographics or the socioeconomic status of each neighborhood. They all need resources. So so I just feel like some of them aren't getting the big piece of the great pie that is Philadelphia.
Okay, so I know that you've been familiar with 70 for some time, and of course this place has been around forever, since 1904. Done a good bit of work in Philly, Philly has needed a good bit of work over the better part of the century, but also had to Harrisburg a good bit as well, especially given the election reform and redistricting reform efforts that are underway. There's a lot of focus there, but there's a lot that we can do here in City Hall, and I would love to hear your thoughts on amongst the traditional good government issues that we can affect here in Philly, ethics, campaign finance, transparency. You mentioned. Actually, we're going to redraw our city council districts, which a lot of folks are not talking about yet. What do you think are the things that city council members and Philadelphians should be keeping in mind? As we were talking about earlier, you can also feel free to think as big as possible on this. If you could wave a magic wand as well.
Well, if it was a magic wand, and you mentioned the redrawing the city council districts, I had no idea that they were going to do it. That was my big magic wand, pie in the sky type of reach. Outside of some of the, in this day and age, I was tuned into, I was in the military, so I was keeping up with everything, through email, and congress.org, you can find out your representative, what they voted for, a little synopsis of the bill. You can click on it and get the full readout of the bill. And I always wondered why it's so difficult to find out not only what the bills are in committee, but who proposed them. And then, God forbid, if you want to find out who voted for them, that's another type of digging around. I don't understand why it's not at your fingertips. But no, you'll have to tell me more when we have more time about the redrawing the city council districts, because even before I got into politics, I wondered, the way the districts are. I've got Packer Park, Marconi Plaza, and I've got Grace Ferry, and then I've got out in Southwest, and just wildly different neighborhoods with wildly different problems and wildly different needs. And it just seems a little ridiculous for one little office to cover that much ground. And I often wondered why we didn't bring government closer to the neighborhoods, just shrinking them down. Even if you're talking about ethics and corruption, it's going to be easier to corrupt a larger group of people than a smaller group of people. I mean, 17 people for how many people live in Philadelphia? Over a million, 1.5?
Yeah, 1.5. About
17 people?
About 150,000 of the districts.
I just, that boggled me a little bit. So it's funny you'd say that. I like that, because maybe somebody's already working on what I would do if given the opportunity. But the other thing is just transparency and accessibility, which I don't understand. It doesn't take a magic wand for. If I've got other political organizations or other government agencies that I can tune into and find out exactly what's going on, why can't I find out what's going on Broad Street? So that's what I would work on.
Yeah. What about this? I mean, we were talking about this a little bit earlier. I mean, the charter we have now was written in 1951. Surely we amend our charter in a great deal, probably more often than we should sometimes. But looking at government, city government as a whole, we're supposed to have a strong mayor form of government. I think there could be differing opinions on how strong the mayor's office is, kind of traditionally in this town. But looking at mayor, city council, the way our city departments are set up, Do you think that warrants a look as well?
Yeah, sure.
Mm-hmm.
It's an exciting prospect,
Mm-hmm.
but I mean, the only thing I worry about is who's getting involved in that.
Sure.
Because with the level of apathy we have and engagement just in local elections, we might get 5-8% out of this election, maybe if we're lucky, creeping up to 10. So what small group of people are going to be involved in reshaping, the future of the city? But I mean, it's the opportunity is there to take a look at the things that hasn't worked, or that leads opportunity for manipulation in a bad sense, and say, hey, we can close some of these loops up. We can spread the power around, or spread the representation around. And I think there's something to be said for that.
Okay. So I got about a minute here. I mean, what's your again, like a big case for why folks should be voting for you on Tuesday, on November 5th?
For November 5th, like I said earlier, the issues that we have nothing to do with politics, right? So if and a lot of people, and especially the climate nowadays, it's all distraction and division. So they've pinned us into our little political tribal groups, and we don't want to hear anything from anybody else. But you have to pay attention to what's going on, and you have to look at the person that's running, because I know I was at an event with Maj Toure, Kendra Brooks, and Joe Cox, and we found ourselves agreeing on more things than we disagreed about. So politics are the issues that we're facing are irrelevant. So if I had to say anything, just look at what's going on in the city. Look at how things have been and the types of improvements you would like to see, and find out if your current representative is doing that. And then look around, do some research, and for the love of God, go out there and vote. Great.
And where can folks learn more about you and your candidacy? Your platform?
We've got a Facebook page, Bradley for City Council. The website is Bradley 2019, and we're also on Instagram.
Okay, terrific. Michael Bradley, thank you so much.
Thanks, Pat.
All righty. Election day again is November 5th, Tuesday, November 5th. Big election for Philly. For nonpartisan voter resources, C70.org is the website. Information on the candidates, the offices, the ballot questions, critical voting procedures, and then for folks who want to keep all their handy tools on their phone, the WeVote app is available wherever you download apps for your phone. See you on election day. Go vote.